What's up, everyone, and welcome in to the Your Celtic Source post-game show on this Friday night after the Celtics completely embarrassed themselves, quite frankly, against the Brooklyn Nets, falling 113 to 105. Was pretty much a catastrophe in the fourth quarter, not blowing a lead, but just falling apart, giving up a huge run to the Nets with Jaylen Brown off the floor, basically sealing this game. And we'll talk about all of that, but I will just start by saying that the Celtics, are not quite officially out of the NBA Cup, but these two losses, any win from the 76ers or the Pistons, pretty much seals the deal for them. But more importantly, the Nets are the worst team in the league. This is a game that you need to win if you're the Celtics, right? You got to stay above 500, and the Celtics are now back to 500 with this loss. And it really came, the loss was, it was a pretty terrible performance. Now, it wasn't as bad as the first half performance in the game on Tuesday against the Nets, but the third quarter run that the Nets went on because of Jaylen Brown's absence was a pretty terrible, stretch of minutes there for the Celtics. And we'll get into all of that. But before we do that, I do want to start with some of the positives. That is, one of them is that, Anfernee Simons has, plays a much larger role in this game, right? 33 minutes, he plays 23 points. He closes the game, 2 of 6 from 3, 10 of 16 overall. So a pretty solid performance from him offensively. And defensively, he was not the problem in this game by any means. It was great to see that Joe Mazzulla, was, putting his trust, I don't know if trust is the right word, but, allowing Anfernee Simons, who has started his entire career, who, is coming off the bench for this team now, but the last couple of games, there's been controversy on whether he should be playing more with the production that he can provide for this team offensively, which is badly in need of offense. And we'll talk more about the offense later. But Anfernee Simons, gains the trust of Joe Mazzulla in this game, I think, and finds a way to, be productive offensively, but not take away from what other guys are doing, right? His efficiency in this game and his ability to make plays for others, he finishes the game with 4 assists, right? He has 4 turnovers, but he has 2 steals as well. Sort of makes up for the turnover issue. But his ability to play and not, disrupt the offense, which is what really is going to keep him on the court, because we know he's a scorer. He's a walking bucket. But he tends to do all these ISO possessions, right? And he tends to, just do these sidestep threes and doesn't look to even get other guys involved, right? And that's been the problem. And, it wasn't a problem in this game. They lost for other reasons, like I've said. But, can Anfernee Simons continue to build on this game where he gains the trust of Joe Mazzulla, and then, he has to find a way to, stay with it in the next game when, maybe offense isn't the thing that they need. They need defense. Can he provide that and still be able to stay on the court? As for, why they lost this game, the run that the Nets go on is because Jaylen Brown gets into foul trouble with 5 fouls with 7 minutes left to go in the third quarter. And he has to sit for more than 10 minutes of actual game time. And the Celtics can't survive right now without Jaylen Brown on the court. Right? They're barely staying afloat with him on the court, let alone him coming off the court and the Celtics then having to, tread water without any sort of offense. Right? He was he had the best net rating in this game, right? Differential for any of the starters and really any of the guys that played more than 10 minutes in this game. He was still a -4, right? I mean, this team was getting, I think the -4 came from that final, couple of points from Michael Porter Jr. down the stretch of this game where he sort of took over. Now, give credit to Jaylen Brown. He got this team sort of back into the game when he came back on the court. But the deficit was already around 10, 11 points. And he got to like 5 or 6, but they just couldn't get back over the hump. And eventually, the Nets pull away in this game, right? With 4 minutes left, it's about a 4-point game. Jaylen Brown doing everything he can to keep this team in the game. 26 points, 1 of 4 from 3, but 9 of 18 overall. He missed 2, crucial, I don't know if they were crucial free throws, but he did miss 2 free throws down the stretch that might have turned the game in a different direction. But, he only has 3 turnovers in this game, right? He did his best. He just didn't play enough because on the defensive end, he was picking up, lame fouls. He has not been great defensively lately. There's been a couple of, plays a game where he just falls asleep and gets backdoor cut. Now, it happened in this game from Michael Porter Jr. and Mann late in the game. Now, I don't quite remember what the score was at that point. It might have been out of reach already. But still, Jaylen Brown has just, not put in enough energy on the defensive end. And I don't know if he can put enough energy into the defensive end with just how little, offense he has around him. He needs to save all that energy for that side of the floor, right? So he can't be putting in that much effort defensively, which is why he's been asking guys like Jordan Walsh and Hugo Gonzalez, who got a little bit of a run late in the fourth quarter, although it didn't look great. Now, it wasn't in garbage time, right? It was in, when the game was close in crunch time. Now, this actually, counts as another crunch time loss, as it was a 4-point game or 5-point game under 5 minutes to go. So they're now, what are they now? 3-6 on the season? Something like that, maybe 4-6. I'm not quite sure. But, as I was saying, Jaylen Brown, right? He can't put all that effort into the defensive end, and he's asking guys like Jordan Walsh, Hugo Gonzalez to do that for him. But those two guys, and really any guys that are in there for defense, can't provide offensively. And so, at the end of the day, you need a bucket to score. You can't win a game just on your defense, right? Because, you can get, people say, defense is just as important as offense. But at the end of the day, you hold the team to 0 points in a game. I'm just saying hypothetically, you hold a team to 0 points in the game. If you're also at 0 points in the game, you didn't win the game. So at the end of the day, offense can keep up with offense. Defense cannot, keep up with defense. I mean, it's not, a great, perfect apples to apples comparison. But the point being, right, you can't have Jordan Walsh and Hugo Gonzalez out there because you need someone to score, which is where Anfernee Simons comes into play. But then Anfernee Simons, can't play defense. So you're really at a a crossroads here. If you're Joe Mazzulla, on who to play and at what times, because you cannot play a team right now that is good on both sides of the floor. Every single minute Joe Mazzulla puts a lineup out there, it will either be good offensively. Now, when I say good, it will be okay offensively or okay defensively. Now, there are lineups out there where they can be great offensively and great defensively, but Joe Mazzulla has decided to try and weave that thin line where you can get a little bit on both sides, right? You can get a little bit of defense, a little bit of offense, and you have these games where they score 105 points. Like, I don't even care that the Nets scored 113 points on you. You're not winning a game scoring 105 points. Like, that's not how the NBA works these days. You have to score in the 110s, 120s to win games, right? Like, 113 is a pretty moderate score, right? You can't be super upset at how many points the Celtics gave up, because you got to win a game that you give up 113 points. Before we wrap this up, we have to talk about a guy that I wish we didn't have to talk about anymore. Guy that I thought was out of his slump as of 2 days ago, but has continued to just roll on, and that is Derrek White. Because Derrek White, after these last 2 games of him, seeming to come out of his slump, he goes right back at it, or right back to it, right? And he puts up pretty much a dud in this game. 6 points in 33 minutes, 2 of 13, 1 of 7, just 4 assists, right? So it's not even like he was, missing shots. He just wasn't getting his teammates involved at all. He, was taken out of the game in that crunch time run, or crunch time to end the fourth quarter, in favor of Jordan Walsh, and who was it? Ugo Gonzalez that came in. Joe Mazzulla was just trying to mix it up. And if you're Derrek White, I don't know what you do. Do you go back to the drawing board, back to the basics, see if you can, reshape your shot, your mechanics, all of that? Because I think him missing shots is actually getting to his head, and him not being able to, then make plays for other guys, right? So it's one thing if you're missing shots, but then, you find a way to, be more of a playmaker and just take shots when it's absolutely necessary. But the fact that you can't make shots and it's getting to your head means that you are, just out there as a screener, and right, the ball has already been taken out of his hands. Peyton Pritchard's doing most of that. Anfernee Simons as well. It's just something's wrong with Derrek White, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's his shot, his mechanics and stuff. Something's up with him, and seriously, it needs to be looked into more by the Celtics medical staff, team, coaches, all of that. See if they can figure that out, because as I said on the live stream for the game, which you can go check out, Jaylen Brown can put up numbers left and right. Whether it's offensively or, yes, he's a problem defensively, but he's putting up the offensive numbers. You can't expect more out of Jaylen Brown offensively. You can't win with one guy. You need a Derrek White, a Peyton Pritchard, one of those two, and primarily Derrek White, because he also provides the defense that Peyton Pritchard cannot provide, most of the time, given his size, right? There's nothing you can do if you're Peyton Pritchard. It's just you're a small guard. Now, I actually give a lot of credit to Peyton Pritchard, the way he tries and the way he hustles, and plays defense to the best of his ability. But Derrek White is just going to be a better defender, and so he's going to be out there with the defensive problems that this team has, and so something just needs to change, or this team is going to be, sitting at 500, slumping for, most of the season. They're going to win games when shots go down. They're going to lose game when shots are hitting off the back iron or the side of the backboard like some of Derrek White's shots had tonight. But I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. Follow on social media. We will be live tomorrow night with our annual Thanksgiving podcast episode where we're going to try to be thankful for things that this team has. It's going to be hard, I'm telling you that now. But we'll try to be thankful and happy for some of the things that we have going for this team right now. I'm going to go watch the end of the Nuggets-Rockets game here and make a video of that later tonight. But until next time, go Celtics.